Yeah, like how long have we been in here now? In this particular one?
This room.
Yeah, in this room.
Been a couple of years.
A couple of years now.
Yeah, a couple of years.
And then we did like a few months.
We did a few months in the room over there.
And then we
were across the road
for about a year and a bit.
Yeah.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. And then like before visuals, we was in Acton, and then we was Kensal Road. That was where I started, Kensal Road. Yeah, there was a little studio bits in there.
This is nice really though, small. Man. I love West, man.
We're in, by the way. So, yeah, George the Poet's with me today.
Yeah.
Welcome, my brother.
There.
Yeah,
bro.
I'm good, man. See, I love it when dots connect. I love it when dots connect. Because remember, we said a couple of times, oh yeah, man, boom, like, come on the pod, whatever. By the way, you can lean back, by the way. Don't feel like you can't. The mic will pick you up.
By the way, is my jacket noisy?
No, it's calm. It's calm. Right. So yeah, the mic will pick you up. You can lean back. You can do what you want. You're fine. Yeah. But then we was in Westfields recently. I think I was getting ready to go Ghana, innit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you told me after, but at the time, it was just a passing thing.
Yeah.
Quick.
Very. I think I was going to get the black or the white tees from Primark.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
It looked like one of them kind of... Because I was going to Primark for something similar.
Yeah.
One of them uniform...
Right.
Staple things.
Yeah. Like quickly pop in, I need to, because I got this thing to go to or whatever it is, little holiday, like whatever, you know, like that, just casual.
Quick.
Yeah, just that quick thing. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But before we even do anything, yeah, because you was asking me about studios and whatever, yeah, and you said you love West, and I'm with you on that, but elaborate on that.
Dog, obviously I'm from Northwest.
Yeah.
And I'm from Northwest 10, which is almost West Northwest.
Yeah.
I mean, it is technically West Northwest.
Yeah.
And I lived, from I went to university, I've gone to Cambridge. I'm out there in the sticks. Cool, I adapted. Came back and I automatically thought it's not a good idea to go back to the ends. So I just avoided living in Northwest because I was building as George the Poet, and it's not always, it's not always good to be around the hood, frankly, bro. Sometimes there's a crab mentality, and my ends had me kind of not paranoid, but my back was up and I was always on the lookout. Long story short, I lived outside of Northwest, and a few years ago, good few years ago now, like midway through my 20s, I was like, I'm going back.
Right.
And now I'm here, and I just see new stuff developing and people really, really being able to get it cracking, not far from the ends. I think we really need that.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
I love West.
You see when you, because this is interesting, yeah? I was going to do all of this later, but we're here. Yeah. You see when you went out of the ends now, yeah?
Yeah.
And then, because you just said that, when you was coming back, you kind of realised straight away, I don't know if it's a good idea to go back to the ends.
Yeah.
Did you realise, when you're in the ends, yeah, and you grow up in the ends, it is just what it is. A lot of the time you just don't know any different until you come out. When you come out, you start realising, oh, hold on, you might not even deep it straight away, but there becomes a period of time when you start thinking, I'm not looking over my shoulder. I'm not thinking about catching a stray or getting caught up in a pass or whatever. You don't deep it immediately, but you over a period of time.
And I think for most man from the hood, it was going to happen around your mid-20s. If you're not super active, certain man, it's a different conversation altogether. But I remember, I think my teens had me paro. My teens had me on point. My teens had me thinking that anything can happen in this area. Yeah. And then it took for me to go Cambridge, bro. It took for me to not only study sociology at the highest level, but to physically be out of the city. Yeah. For me to be able to just shrug some of that off and be like, you know what? You can create a different lane for yourself, and you can trust the community to respect that. You can trust the man to respect that. Yeah. That was a gradual thing, man. I didn't believe that was... By the time I was 17, I thought that you're just going to have to get out the hood. Everyone has to get out the hood.
And more time, when you leave the hood and that as well, yeah, you would think that people are not going to... They're they're not going to respect that.
Yeah.
Because of the mentality that some people have within it.
Yeah.
But the fact that you are able to say, now you got to trust the fact that, like, it's going to be all right. Like, people will, like, people will understand it. And most importantly, I'm doing this because there's a bigger thing at play here.
Right. Now, on that point, I'll be real, there's obviously a flip side to that coin, because that's what Nipsey believed he was doing.
Right.
And that's what Nipsey was doing. And no one was doing it on the level that Nipsey was doing it. But, so I do have these attacks of, like, you know, conscience, where I'm like, you have a responsibility to, like, remove yourself from this environment. And sometimes my brothers make little comments, or my people might make little comments like, why you always gotta be, you know what I'm saying? Why do you love the hood? So one time my brother made a little comment like that, this guy loves the hood. And later on, my girl was making kind of comments like that as well.
It's funny. At first, yeah. When it said one time, it's almost like a little joke kind of thing. When it said a couple of times, you're like, oh, wait, you look really, like, what is happening here?
Like, my brethren felt like he had to stage a mini intervention not even that long ago.
Serious?
Which is mad, because we've been in Corona.
Yeah.
So we've been in lockdown. It's not like I've been in the hood, but he hadn't seen me for a while. And one of the things that he felt like he had to say to me was, bro, you don't really need to be about like that.
Well, okay, let me ask you this. When they're saying that, like, what was you doing? Like, just hanging outside on the block?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Was you just chilling on the bricks?
It's going to be a studio situation.
Okay.
For me. And where I don't rap anymore, sometimes people don't understand. It's like, why do you need to be in the studio with them, man? Why do you need to be around certain elements? And I'm like,
why not?
Number one, well, I know why not. Yeah, I'll be real, yeah. But
go on.
Number one, where do you think I came from? You think I pulled this George the Poet thing out of thin air? No, this is an adaptation of what I was doing when I was in my teens. You get me? With a bit more wisdom, a bit more experience. And it's very necessary. I can't still be me speaking to the things that I'm speaking to. It might not always come across in what you see. If you see me doing an advert or I'm on a BBC or whatever. But trust me, where it is important, I'm putting in the work and I'm doing the listening. Yeah,
it's mad actually. Because I you know, one time I heard Giggs say, what was it he was talking about? People were saying to him, like, why are you not there? And he was like, unless I got someone to go and see specifically, then I'm not really hanging around there, because I fought so hard to get out of that. Right. But I think he's speaking more from a mentality aspect as opposed to just being the physical aspect of being there. Do you understand what I'm saying? It's like he's still there because there's still people there that he will need to go and see and whatever.
Facts.
But I'll go there and I'll see them.
Yeah.
But to be hanging around outside, like, we fought a lot to try and get away from that. Yeah. So why do I need to be there? For what? To what? To, in the eyes of keeping it real.
And you know what's so funny? I wish that for Nipsey. I think about Nipsey a lot.
Oh my God, man, that was a bit.
And I'm like, I wish he had that. Like, I wish he was a bit more standoffish about the hood. I wish, but it's a contradiction. This was actually on my mind this morning. The hood is built on contradictions. This is one of the reasons why I felt from an early stage that I'm gonna have to create my own lane, because you lot are gonna get me killed, dog. Yeah. Like, the logic is driven by contradictions. So we love our block. We're tied to our block. Many of us children of immigrants, our main cultural identity came from the block. Do you get me? So that's one fact. But then the other fact is there's so much insecurity in this environment that things will go wrong even when you're doing good. Do you get me? There's economic insecurity. People literally, you don't know, like, people are struggling for money and you don't know what it's driving them to do without you seeing it in their face. Do you get what I'm saying? Certain people are under mad pressure, but you see them and you're next to them. So that's a contradiction of the hood. You love this place, but there's pressure built into it. And all of them contradictions, it's just what we have to learn to work through, especially as black men. It is what it is. So much has gone wrong by this point that it's just nice that, going back to what I was saying, you like have this studio in West in the ends. You see why I said what I said now? Like, it means so much to me when productive things, nice things are happening in the area.
Right.
Because it means we don't have to move out and we can make it work.
Yeah. And that's important as well, man. Like, to be able to have these things in those areas that are positive things, so that we can still have our community in there and prosper in our community by having those type of things. Though that to me is key.
Preach.
Because it's like, you know what is life really when we have to always go outside of our community to prosper or to find things to prosper? What is that? There's no real fun in that, really. Because ultimately, when you're away, you still kind of want to be back.
Yes,
there's still something
I lived it. It's only because I went through that, going to Cambridge. By the time I went to Cambridge, that's just before I became George the Poet. I became George the Poet in the month of getting to Cambridge, yeah. But leading up to that, my mentality was, I'm gone. I used to have a bar when I was at MC. When I blow, you will never see my face again. I hate the ends. I feel like the owner of Gucci working in H&M. I can't say that I'm one of them patient men. I'm trying to be ghosting the fastest, like Nicolas Cage and most of them artists. Home's where the heart is. Fam, I wear my heart on my sleeve. Everybody knows where my yard is. Can't sound hard to believe. Everybody knows I'm a Paris. I'll only come back to go to the barbers. Cause I don't want to see these youths like most of their fathers. I was mad, bro. I was angry. And that's like, I'm glad that I wasn't famous them time there, because I had so much anger and venom in a lot of what I was writing, and it wasn't loving towards the community. It's only from being able to step away that I was able to become George the Poet, literally.
Did you feel like you started to love the community more when you was away from it? Yeah. Like, you hate it in the beginning.
No, so in the beginning I loved it. As a child, I loved it. We was in St. Raph's. Shouts out to the whole hood. Sorry to anyone if you feel like I'm going to say some stuff that you don't agree with. Is what it is. But I felt like when we were kids in the 90s and the 2000s, there was a bit of pressure. Like, people were coming from difficult situations and there was a lot of angry kids in the hood. But we were all, at least I would say we were all individuals. We were all real. Do you get me? Now, what I feel like happened was we hit high school and then we became identified by our block. I saw it happen through my brother because he went to a local school, my big bro. And it's like, people look at you as a Rafsman now. Yeah,
because the question is, where are you from?
Yeah.
I'm from Thing. This is where I'm from.
Yeah.
Okay. And so in my mind, when I'm asking you that and you tell me where you're from, I associate you with them man.
Understand? And now, it's you in high school, you got 12-year-olds sharing the same space as, in some cases, 18-year-olds, 16-year-olds. So if the 16, 18-year-olds from your hood in your school are setting the tone and making it know like rah, and some of the man them are actually in certain situations, then you're out of pocket. You start feeling awkward. You start feeling out of line if you do not play by those rules. Do you get what I'm saying? Or you're just going to become irrelevant. This is the problem, you know, the situation that a lot of young people go through when they are in school, unfortunately. Now, by God's grace, my parents had the idea of sending me out the end, so I avoided a lot of that, which is why to this day I've got good relationships in the hood, because things never went left in school. That's my theory anyway.
100%, bro. 100%. But also, maybe as well, maybe because even though you came from that, you may not have been directly associated to my man who did my man this.
Exactly.
Because I think as well, where a lot of things changed, especially for us, I think when we were younger, I'm from West, but like we had, like we were making lemonade out of the lemons that we got in it,
Come on.
Yes, the lemonade, we were spraying it all over the place, and it wasn't always, you know what I mean, we was just doing all types of fuckery with the lemonade, but it was still fun. I think the innocence got taken away a little bit when someone died.
Yeah, that happens.
And when someone dies, that's when it becomes a whole different type of thing, and it becomes a lot more real in that sense. And now, you know, you've got retaliation in that, because you know what, we can't allow thing.
100%.
Yeah. So and then when you are directly associated to that, that's where it becomes very techie, because no matter where you go after that, you are still associated with my man who did thing.
Yeah.
So if these lot now see you, they're not thinking, you know what, like he's not from.
And that's why beef is.
People get caught up in so much people get caught in collateral damage, you know.
Collateral damage. Like beef is a losing game. Anyone who knows beef knows that it's about who can lose for the longest, isn't it?
Oh yeah, for real.
Right? You got to lose. You got to be resilient to lose. It's like Joe. You just got to be accepting of the situation to an extent, yeah. But I heard a man say the other day something that really touched me. He was like, most of these youths don't really know the elders that like that. The elders that started the beef.
No.
They're not really connected to the elders like that.
Yeah.
But like I was saying, something happens around high school. Everyone becomes identified by the block, and you're just inheriting whatever the block presents you.
Yeah.
And I just think, if you listen to any big rapper's story, it's the same thing. Every rapper, every like street rapper in this country, in America, in Jamaica, probably in Africa, but I haven't investigated it, too tough over there. But you listen to all of them, they'll tell you the same thing. It was nice when we was younger.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Then I guess our generation started wilding. Over here in Northwest and London, my generation, I'm 30 now. My generation, I remember the elders being baffled that we were in knife problems. It's like, how are you lot dealing with knives when you're youths? And back in the day, we just used to have punch-ups, and if it got to that, it was straight war. And if it weren't that, then there's no point. Yeah,
there wasn't, like, I know, it's mad. Is it mad to say, that like the knife thing is almost like the in-between of like, either it was a fist fight, man was getting rushed, or man was coming out with a gun, and it was a complete madness. The knife thing was just like
and you can see it in these youths now, because when they're like about to get into something's about to crack off, the knife is basically their fist.
Yeah.
Like that's their version of I'm fighting now.
Yeah.
Backed out my thing, and it's like there's probably a lot of accident murderers because of that. A lot of men that didn't think that they'll be doing a 30.
I feel like the majority are, you know.
Enough of them, especially them joint enterprise youths.
100%.
Sitting on IPP right now.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like, that's how fighting transformed. But that's why I say it's interesting when you look at the rappers then. Because in America, it's like, why is all of this happening to the black youths? Do you think men are wired that way? No, certain things have happened to all of us. For example, yeah, were you on a council estate when you grew up?
Yeah.
What was the majority of?
Mine was actually white.
Was it white estate?
Yeah, so like I dealt with racism.
Right. So are they still there today?
Is
it still a majority white estate?
I don't think so now. I haven't been there for a minute.
Okay, so that's one thing that happens, right? Working class white areas get populated with immigrants. This is council housing, so the council has told man where to live. Yeah. Somehow, as you look around in this poor situation, yeah, it's predominantly immigrants, majority, like in my case, black immigrants. So all sorts of black people from around the world that have arrived in England have been told to live there. Okay. Then another thing that happens across all of these different neighborhoods is that the authority of the elders, and I don't think this is just a black problem or a hood problem, the world has gone like this. The respect for elders has generally declined. So it's not as common for someone who's not your parent or not the parent to be able to chastise a young person just on a whim because the young person's acting up without them getting bad up. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Back in the day, someone's mum.
100%.
That's just auntie. Auntie said, calm down. Auntie said, stop jumping on the chairs on the bus. You're going to respect the fact that auntie said that.
And a lot of the times, the parents actually knew each other as well.
Yeah. So there was more of a community thing anyway. But over time, these are the things that we've all gone through that have led to a situation now, where the youths don't have conflict resolution mechanisms. There's no version of disagreeing with a man for some people in some of these environments that is like it can end with us actually being friends.
Nah, yeah, that does. I don't know if that happens.
You
like
get
that,
me? We could just exchange ideas,
Yeah.
maybe even have a little fisticuffs, and then but we're good. Like now I see him and I laugh at that time. We had a little punch up back in the day.
Yeah.
I don't think they see it like that. They see it like enemies. That's why we have this word ops.
Mm.
And the certain man are just the enemy, like Satan blood. So how do you reason with that?
You know what is interesting? What you said, yeah. Listening to you speak reminded me of the different times and patterns in how certain things would be resolved. So at one point it was parents, like, or as you said, like a parent would be able to come in and chastise, you and let them. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Then there was just the older. So like there'd be something going on or whatever, and the older would be able to say, "What you lot are? Let me just ring the other older from this place here." So let's say my older might ring my man from whatever and say, "Look, like, can you control your youth? Like, it's cool. He's a good youth. Like, he's a good youth, man. Just allow it. Alright, cool, whatever, fine." Now there's none of that. Like when I speak to certain elders of like my age and whatnot, none of them are not able to make a phone call and say, "Oh, like, you lot allow it." Like, what's going on? Because they don't.
They all say the same thing. They say the youngers are crazy, innit?
Yeah, but
the youngers gotta eat. The youngers do what they do, like as if the youngers have nothing to do with them.
I think we have to be careful though, the way that we talk about them. The reason why is because, yeah, there's evidently problems in that, yeah. But if we keep talking about how crazy they are and talk about them as if they are animals, they may actually start living up to that even more so.
I hear that.
You start believing
powerful.
it. You start believing it.
Yeah.
If the more that the people keep telling you, they're lost, man.
Yeah.
Like, forget about them, man. They're lost, but we gotta wait for the next generation to come through.
Yeah.
Like, I know if I was a kid and I kept hearing that, at some point, I'm going to live with that at some point. It's going to take someone of a certain type of level head that I respect that will be able to talk me out of that. Do you know what I mean?
Narratives, bro. Did you catch Kwame Brown when he blew up on the internet a couple months ago?
Yeah, with the whole situation in was it Charlemagne and that? Where
yeah, it started slightly before Charlemagne, but Charlemagne exploded it. So basically,
explain for people who don't know.
Yeah.
Kwame Brown is an ex-basketball player, right?
Right, ex-NBA player. He was in the league for like 13 years.
Yeah.
At the time, he was the number 1 draft pick straight out of high school. Yeah, but he never really got his flowers. He never really got ratings. In fact, he was ridiculed throughout his whole career, and his career never like materialized into a LeBron. But like I said, he was in there for 13 seasons. But
why was he ridiculed, by the way?
All right, so this is good. And remember, the whole point I'm trying to make is about narratives and what you say and what you put in the air. So he was saying that he noticed the media, he calls it the go along, get along gang, yeah?
Yeah.
They seem to have an agreement that he was blackballed, that you won't get no ratings, that you won't get no shine. At the time, the way it came out was that everything that was said about him publicly was negative. He's saying, they knew what time it was with me, innit? They knew that I was about the people. They knew that I came from the mud. My father was a lifer. You get single mum situation.
Yeah.
As soon as I got interviewed, I said, I just want to provide more opportunities for more kids, and they didn't like that. So that's what he's explaining now. And the more he unpacks it, he goes into like how Michael Jordan was behind him getting drafted into the NBA,
right,
straight from high school,
right.
But Jordan did it as a tactical move because he really wanted another youth from, I think he was in the Bulls, but like he just had to get this like overrated player and like swap him out when he had the opportunity, innit? Because Jordan was running the Wizards, I think, the Washington Wizards at the time. So boom, or he was playing for them, just running them behind the scenes. Anyway, he's saying that no matter how I performed, the narrative was that I'm a bust, I'm a waste of time.
Pogba.
Do you get me? I'm dead out here.
Sounds like Pogba.
Like, right. So we're going to create a narrative and just push it on this youth. And we're never going to talk about his numbers. We're never going to talk about his performance. We're going to... And it's mad because ever since Kwame Brown blew up on YouTube, I've revisited a lot of what I've consumed in the media, and I've looked at it differently. Because he's saying, if you look back, this was the rise of like opinion-based sports journalism, where you have a whole show of man just talking about how they feel about individuals.
Yeah.
And how they feel about how much money these individuals are getting paid.
And so ultimately, opinion is not fact.
Right.
If you have certain feelings towards someone, then your opinions are going to almost sway a certain type of way.
100%.
Right.
So he's laid that out, yeah. And I've gone raw because he's talking about people that I kind of liked before. People like Stephen A. Smith. I knew he got a lot of criticism. But he's like one of them very animated African American sports commentators, yeah. He gets a little bit like heated, a bit rude when he talks and that. So I used to watch it for that reason. But looking back now, he's running his mouth about all of these black youths who are, the way Kwame Brown has made me see it, these are literally kings, and it's true. They're kings. They've made it to the 1%, less than 1% that have gone pro. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah, they might not have a Michael Jordan level game every single game, but they're doing bits. And you, man, who don't play, you've never played on this level, you've got a lot of verbal for these youths. Do you get what I'm saying? And it's like, he was saying that it's all a ploy to lower the value of their contracts.
Right.
So that you understand, other managers and GMs and stuff can get them for the low, really.
Right.
So I heard that and I was thinking about like narratives a lot, and I noticed Charlemagne, doing things that just don't make sense. Like drawing the youth out.
I saw, and I remember immediately I watched this, I thought, 'cause one thing I don't really do, is like a lot of the time when I watch certain things, I don't really read because sometimes I feel like reading the comments occasionally it can sway your opinion on stuff as well. Do you get what I'm saying? But I've watched something that Charlemagne did, and I thought, let me just see if anyone else noticed this, because I thought it was outrageous, and it was like, I think it was when he was saying, "Oh, you know what? Leave him alone, because let me tell you this: his dad did a madness, his brother did a madness. They buried a woman underneath the and I was like, whoa! Why is no one stopping this guy? Wait, is this just me?" So that's why I went and I looked and I thought, and instantly in that moment, without me even knowing who Kwame Brown was, I sympathized with him immediately, because I thought, this isn't like, this could go a whole other way. I mean, I think what ended up happening was a lot of people saw that was wrong and was like, yo, like you're moving mad, bro. But that at another time, that could have went a whole different way. Oh, you're right. Is that what was going on? Now we need to stay away from, what does that do to him?
Mad.
And then how does that affect his mind?
Mad. And you know what you're doing. So after that, I went back and I looked at the Charlemagne Monique interview. And I see the same thing when Monique was saying that she's not getting paid enough from Netflix, etc. And I see like, he's just making her sound dumb for no reason. But she's actually a very well-spoken woman. She gave me good vibes, auntie vibes. Do you get what I'm saying? Very professional, very intelligent, knew her stuff. She had all her facts. And it's Charlemagne in position. And what Kwame Brown is saying about this whole situation is that there are people that are literally paid to influence you lot negatively against individuals according to the interests of, you know what I'm saying, the people that run the media. And it's like, yeah, it's true. But anyway, going back to what you're saying about the youth, you gotta be careful, because we don't really know the stats when we're saying that the youths are crazy. We don't know that they're that much. I mean, some stats I actually know, but things have been mad.
There's definitely a problem, but you could never take away from the fact there's a problem.
100%, but I think there's been a problem. As the youth them always try and say when you talk about drill, there's been a problem. It's just expressing itself in different ways through the music sometimes, making people want to talk sometimes. Yeah. And that's why I sent you that episode on my podcast.
Yeah. Oh, we'll get into that actually. Yeah. Like, but even then as well, like the flipping, like, even some of the weaponry, that I see now is. I was watching a little clip of like these youths having some issue in Hyde Park, and I see these youths running around with these swords, and like, I laughed because no one was hurt, but I laughed off the back of the fact that like the weaponry was so large that like, if I got an issue with a youth and he backs that out on me, I know I'm safe. Do you know why? Because you can't run with that. That thing's so mad. Like you see, like you need to have a certain. You need to have, forearm, and this bit has to be thick. Yeah, to run with that. And because enough of them don't have that, I'm yeah. You know when you hold something, you start doing that.
They look like the swords in Aladdin.
Yes, literally that. Literally
ones.
that. Yeah. But the downside on that is that that goes viral, and then you get 2 sets of youths. Well, maybe like 3 sets, but I'm going to focus on just 2 for the purpose of the conversation. Yeah?
Come on.
But they'll do like one of 2 things. Yeah, they'll say, "Rah." One will be like, "What is this? What man's?" So I need to make sure that I've got my ones bigger than that. Yeah. But then also you got youths that are like, "Rah," deep down in their heart, they're petrified and scared to death. Yeah. And so because of that, that's why I'm holding this. Yeah. Yeah. It's not because ultimately like I'm some bad youth or whatever it is. Yeah, they might be feeding into a little bit of a stereotype unintentionally, yeah. But like, no, I'm scared, innit? And if I'm out every day and I feel like someone's backing something out on me, so I'm gonna have to have something as well. And that's where, when you was talking about accident murderers, I feel like there's a lot of that where someone's not on the by he's got something and so I've gone to jail because of something that he's done. No, him in particular, he doesn't want that. He doesn't want to roll with that. Yeah. But he feels like he has to roll with that because I remember I was speaking to one kid one time, and he was telling me about going to school. Like he lives in one area, but he had to go to like Lewisham to go to school. We had to go through a bunch of different areas to go to school, and he was telling me how stressful it was. Yeah, and it made me think in my head, like when I was going to school, that was like I wasn't even nearly thinking about that.
Furthest from your mind.
In school, there was a couple things that were going on all of that type of stuff or whatever. But on the way to school, like the thought of thinking, like I'm gonna get on the bus, but you know what? I might have to go on the lower, might have to be on the ground thing, so not go up the stairs, go on the ground and go at the back with the old people and sit there just and try and be inconspicuous so that a man, that's nuts to me. For a 14-year-old to be thinking that is outrageous.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, but I was thinking that when I was 14.
That's nuts.
And it's not, but they can't run. And it's like, really, the sad news is that it's on us, bro. And it's not even sad because we're made for it. We're from the community, and we understand the youth them better than any government in this country or any like police force ever will. We actually understand the youth them. How many young people connect with you because you're Chuckie? So you get what I'm saying? Like most teachers don't have that level of influence. And we're keeping their attention. You get views every single week. You see what I'm saying?
Do you think like you mentioned earlier, you said it's about losing the longest, yeah?
Yeah.
Do you feel that like in some way you almost have to lose to win? And the reason why I say that, yeah, is because if you're trying to win, what does win look like to them? To some of them, winning looks like getting the upper hand, and losing looks like getting the lower hand, essentially. Yeah. So to lose to win, do you almost have to say, do you know what? I'm going to take this L, or whatever it is. I'm done now. You know what? I lost.
I had to do that.
I lost.
I would recommend that. Like when you said lose to win, I didn't really know where you're going with it. But literally, that's a rule that I accept in life, and I would recommend that to a lot of youths. You have to accept discipline is controlled submission. You get me? If you're disciplined about where you want to be in life, you will choose your L's. You're comfortable with. You understand that there's a trade-off. I'm trying to be there, and sitting down for my next 3 birthdays is going to set me back more than 3 years. So I'm just going to have to step aside and take that L.
Yeah.
But it's like, it's not always that easy. It's not always that straightforward.
There's a lot of things in play, even with like understanding how your own pride works and how you deal with that, and like internal stuff as well as external things. But I think that one thing that I've learned anyway for myself is that like I don't always feed into the negative tone of a word. So say in this context, yeah, now you could say, rah, bro, you lost. The word lost, yeah, seems mad. What do you mean I lost, bro? I'm trying to win. But sometimes that it's like the way that my ego has taken the word lost is what is now going to contribute to me trying to win.
Facts.
But ultimately, losing in that context isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like sometimes you hear certain types of words or whatnot, and you think that's not me or what. Okay, I'll use another analogy actually. Emotional. Like you're emotional. At a point, my ego would react by saying, "Emotional, bro. I'm not emotional."
Yeah.
Even reacting that way is being emotional.
Emotional.
Even reacting that way is being emotional.
Where your mind is flown to.
Yeah. But okay, hold on, wait. Let me actually look at the actual what that word actually means. Yeah, do I feel emotions sometimes? Of course, yeah. Like I'm emotional.
Literally, it's the energy that you put into words, because if you associate emotional with like emotional intelligence, so I know how to read people. Yeah. You know, then you would see that as a positive thing.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying still.
So you was like, oh yeah, my podcast is coming back, whatever, yeah. There's an episode I want you to hear. Yeah, and I'd like to discuss it. And I was like, okay, cool. I think you sent me a message. It was like Vybz Kartel versus Mavado, yeah. And I was like, that's interesting because I grew up listening to all of this. So, and I'm familiar with your podcast, innit? So I know that there's a story being told. Like I know how you deliver. If you haven't, yeah. Do you know what? Today, that's going to be... There's one thing I do at the end where I always say, like, what is one thing that people need to know about, yeah? Okay. I'm going to do that with you, but you have to do it. You have to recommend something that is not your own thing. It's got to be something that you read, a book, a documentary, a brand, whatever. We do that later. But I'm going to recommend yours for people who are not familiar with it, yeah? But you was like, okay, yeah, I want you to listen to it. The episode came out today, right? Was it yesterday?
Yeah,
today. Yeah. Oh, my God. It is such a good episode. It's so good. Yeah, and I really want to try and deep dive into this a little bit. Firstly, why why
talk about Mavado and Vybz like 13 years after the fact? It's been on my mind for 13 years, and it was such a big part of my childhood, and it tells us so much about us as young black men that I think that's a story that I had to tell.
It's very interesting because there's so much things that you said in it, which I'm gonna like. There's a couple of quotes that I'm gonna bring up as well, yeah. But you're what heritage are you, by the way?
I'm Ugandan.
Ugandan, yeah.
Yeah, I'm Jamaican.
So like, but it's an environment thing, innit? From how you even.
There you go.
Right.
Where I grew up was very Jamaican.
Yeah. And so like, what I want you to talk about is, and I've done it a little bit on the pod before on like previous episodes, but what I want you to discuss is almost the environment that they were born into, which you talked about, yeah, and also an element of their beef, because there's going to be a lot of people that are watching this that do not know like the significance of a Vybz Kartel and a Mavado.
True. All right, so where'd you start? So Vybz Kartel was born in 1976, yeah?
Yeah.
There was an election that year. Just remember that.
Yeah.
There was an election that year. Mavado was born 4 years later, 1980. Again, there was an election that year. Yeah? People should know that these are two of the most violent elections in Jamaica's history.
Facts.
Let me just leave that there. Anyway, fast forward about 20 years and 20 plus years they're blowing up as international stars. Dancehall has gone through a phase. It's gone through many phases. Dancehall was born around the 80s as it was. But then through the 90s with Bounty Killer really patterning the gunman sound and the gunman style. And I guess Beanie Man patterning that international dancehall Sing J kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Okay. From there, I'd say the next big milestone is Sean Paul.
Yeah.
He's taken dancehall in a more international direction. Again,
commercially, like taking it to a very different place.
Different thing. Different thing. We had never seen anything like it, yeah? And again, more of the singing thing than the gunman thing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Sean Paul's thing's not he's got them.
Yeah.
But he's not really been that.
Yeah,
he's not really been that. And that's not be like, especially with the like going with the commercial stuff, it's still very dancehall in a lot of aspects of it.
Yeah.
And even the way that he delivers it, but it's not. He doesn't perpetuate.
Much more for the gal, and it's a good time vibe. I love Sean Paul's music.
Yeah,
I have no preference either way. Yeah.
It works in all types of clubs.
100%. Now, you would think that with Sean Paul taking it international in the way that he did, dancehall would back home go in that direction, but for some reason it went the opposite direction. Well, it went in different directions. Yeah. There was the dancey direction.
Yeah.
Elephant Man.
Yeah.
Also making it more of an international movement.
Right.
But then there was the street direction.
Yeah.
And the streets, by the time I was 15.
That's what by the way, I was drawn to that.
I was
mad.
That became my, there's crack in it.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah.
The street dancehall gunman sound was blowing up. It's mad because internationally you would associate it with the party thing, the Sean Paul thing, but at the same time, here where there's a lot of Jamaicans in northwest London, dancehall was like, it was street music, bro. Do you get me?
Yeah.
It's like you step outside and all of the man them would be listening to some, you get me?
And you know what, even
Alliance
when you say street, as well, it's like literally street music as well, because it's like sound system music.
Exactly.
You know, like all of that is derived from sound system culture, which is stringing up a sound system on the street.
Exactly.
Essentially. Yeah?
That's why it's street. That's why it works in the street.
Yeah.
So boom, I'm growing up around this era. Let's call it the Alliance era. So Alliance was a little family of artists created by Bounty Killer.
Right.
The generation after him. So Busy Signals, Vybz Cartel was in there, Mavado was in there.
Yeah.
Okay. So that it's all started off well and good, and this is Bluetooth times, isn't it? So for those that will have missed this era, Bluetooth was a thing that allowed us to send songs from each other's phones, isn't it? So songs are moving through the hood very quickly, basically.
Uh-huh.
And out of nowhere, in my mind at the time, Mavado, one of the biggest like stars of Alliance, just starts warring with Vybz Cartel.
Yeah.
Now, this was interesting to me because they were like two different sides of my brain. Mavado was I used to love R&B as a kid, innit?
Yeah.
So Mavado was the singer one.
Yeah,
and
he was smoother.
He could make it sound like gospel music, gangster gospel.
Yeah.
That was Mavado, yeah.
Yeah.
But Vybz Cartel was a real rapper at them time there.
Yeah.
You might know him more as a singer, Sing J now, yeah. But them times, he was the Eminem of Jamaica.
He was on Smoke. He was on Crud. He was
literally, like the things that came out of his mind were mad creative. I used to call him Vybz Cartoon because it's like watching a cartoon.
Yeah.
Bare different characters doing mad stuff, and lyrically,
really
he
good
was
storyteller. Well.
My favorite MC at the time. I was developing as an MC. My favorite MC was Gets. I like multis. I like complicated rhyme schemes, innit? And you could trust Vybz Cartel for that. So I was like, right, it's like kickboxing versus like like jiu-jitsu or something. It's two different styles of combat, innit? So I don't know which ones, but if anything, Mavado really had man at the time. I was like, Mavado can't be tested. Do you get what I'm saying? But Vybz Cartel not only held his own, he ended up dominating the clash and adapting his style. but either way, it caused a split in Jamaica in the street music.
And sorry to interrupt you, yeah. This, like, for people who are not aware, yeah, like, this was one of those situations, literally, yeah, where, you know, you have the big rapper over here and you have a big rapper over there, and you can't be in the middle. You cannot be in the middle. Everyone pretty much has some sort of even a small understanding of a Tupac and Biggie, for example. Yeah. At that time, it was the same thing. You didn't like both. You was either here or you was over there. Do you understand what I'm saying?
It is what it is.
Yeah. And you get elements of that now in like clashes today a little bit, but it's not culturally like this. It's not like, like we all are over here and everyone's all over there. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. But over there, it was like Gaza, Gully, that was it. You had a side. If you lived in a certain area, essentially you inherited that side anyway.
100%. And as far as I can tell, that divide remains there today.
Yeah. When you go to Jamaica, you still see like graffiti of Gaza and Gully.
You still see it. And even if you look at the dancehall scene in Jamaica, certain man can't really collaborate. There must be mutual respect.
Yeah.
Everyone's cool. I think every time you get a warring generation, the generation after them are a little bit cooler after a while. Yeah. So people seem to be a bit more respectful of each other. But yeah, that Gaza Gully thing was real. And like the older I've got and the more I've reflected on it and I've seen how their lives have panned out, because it is obviously... There's a lot of tragedy that happened after that. A lot of tragedy, a lot of loss, a lot of time in jail, a lot of waste, a lot of death. The more I'm like, we need to study this.
It was, you brought up a couple of things in there that I didn't even know as well, by the way. Like, I didn't know that Mavado relocated to Miami for a bit, or went there for a bit, and then came back and whatnot. And I thought that's interesting. Even what you was talking about earlier, where you were saying about like being in a certain environment but kind of wanting to go back, and then he went to Miami, but home is where the heart is, isn't it?
100%.
Home is where the heart is, and then going back in his son.
Remember, I said the hood is built on contradictions. Do you get what I'm saying? Home is where the heart is.
But like, what a story, man! And I look at Vybz Cartel, and I think to myself, actually, before I even go to that, I was having a conversation the other day. This episode might come out before that episode, But I was saying to myself, because I've been thinking about this a lot, like, why did it change? I kept saying to myself, why did the music change? Like, what was happening for it to change the way that it did? And I say this because before all of that, before the dancehall era, before all of the gangsterism that was in it and stuff like that, there was a lot of love in music, and there was a lot of love in music, and the way the artists would sort of talk about things that were going on in their area, like it would be in reggae music still, because you'd have artists like reggae artists that were like very political. They were very, very, very political.
Yeah, it started with them criticizing the system, the order, the way things are.
Yeah.
Then it just became
because there was love and there was that. Yeah, there was love and then there was that. That's what it felt like, you know.
Yeah. And that's what the Rasta influence of Harsden gave me.
Right.
It gave me that balance of you can love your community, but you can be strong in the face of injustice. And I love that about Rastas. The Muslims also came with the same energy, but there's something that happened to us, bro. There's something. They did something to us.
Well, this is it, because when what you mentioned, where you talked about the elections at these times, when these lot were born, and then what ended up happening after those elections, even with the importation of drugs and weapons, I feel like that's the part.
That's the missing link.
That's the part.
That's the missing link. No
matter, everything changes then. Do you understand what I'm saying? Everything changes then. How we deal with issues. If there's been an importation of some type of weaponry in a community now, that we're not even that familiar with, like that,
yeah.
traditionally.
Let me break it down for people that don't know what we're talking about. Yeah. So, like I said, very violent elections in 76 and 80 in Jamaica. The reason these elections were so peak is because there were two different ideologies. On the one hand, there was Michael Manley, who was all about empowering workers, empowering the people, like Jeremy Corbyn, yeah? And on the other hand, there was Edward Seaga, who was more like Margaret Thatcher. He was literally...
Those are good analogies, actually.
He was literally like respected by Margaret Thatcher. He was very cozy with Thatcher, Ronald Reagan, right-wing politicians that were straight, let's get this money. I don't want to hear all of that worker shit. I don't want to hear all of that rebellion, strike, communism. You get me? Like, we're straight capitalist, you know, upholding the status quo kind of thing. So because of that divide, the streets got mad hot. And because America was getting uncomfortable with all of this talk about communism and, you know, like all of this, like the Jeremy Corbyn vibe, yeah, America wasn't feeling that. America got the CIA to fuel violent conflict on the streets of Jamaica to get basically politicians in power, a change of leadership. They wanted the JLP in, they wanted the PNP out. No disrespect to anyone. I'm sorry if anyone feels like I'm talking out of turn, but this is all historical fact at the same time, innit? And yeah, like it gets a bit techie. I was about to say something else, but we can't get too deep into that because the situation is to an extent still a little bit live. I said a lot on that episode anyway.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you said a lot.
How you
lot have. I'm telling you, you have. I'll tell you how to go and listen to it in a bit. But
yeah, that's why they were fueling guns and drugs.
And then so that changes now. How we deal with issues and beef and all of that type of stuff is all different. So when we go in the studio,
the same thing happened in America. You know? Remember they did the same thing to black people in America.
Yeah.
In the 80s, what did they do? They allowed the Nicaraguans to push crack.
Yeah.
In African America.
Yeah.
As payment for them fighting against communism in Latin America.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So it's like these governments, like I said, the government of Jamaica, the government of Britain, and the government of America, they were all very friendly. Seaga, Ronald Reagan, Thatcher, and they all had the same worldview. I don't want to hear all that Jeremy Corbyn justice for the people shit.
Yeah,
we need to get money. We need to make it easy for people to get money.
Yeah,
they treated black people the same. They had the same policies with black people. Remember, that's what I was asking you about. What it was like in your area growing up. The white working class areas of the cities were being pushed out. Do you get what I'm saying? Or were moving out. Mm-hmm. The immigrants were being pushed into these poor areas. America did it. Them lot did it. It's happened over here. So when you see the youths them with these Aladdin blades, yeah, getting all medieval with their thing, you know where it comes. It's not an accident, bro. That's why I have to tell these stories. Reaction. Real talk.
Chain reaction, bro.
Real talk.
It's because even when you was talking about like the same thing happened in America, going to the music side of it as well, they were dancing. Before all of that, they were dancing. There was love. There was all of that type of stuff, yeah. But then socially things changed, and even when it was changing, they're still dancing. Because remember, you got to think when the crack and all of that was coming in, they were still off their face dancing and all of that type of stuff.
100. That's when rap was born.
Right. The weaponry comes in and that now things start to become a little bit different. Yeah. And as a you, I'm growing up and I don't feel like I want to dance like that really.
Exactly.
I don't feel like that. I don't really love these, man, but I don't know why I don't really love them. But
it's just safer to just now be part of my block. Look what happened. So we just talked about Kingston and the East Coast, yeah, of America. Look what happened in the West Coast. Like you said, everyone was dancing before. Yeah? That's what was happening in LA. They were on some dancing thing in the 70s. That's where the Jericho culture came from and all of the music that they were playing, all of that George Clinton West Coast thing, yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. By the end of the 60s, the Crips were born.
Yeah.
By the time it got to the 80s, crack allowed Crips and Bloods to get money.
Yeah.
So pushing crack gave them more money to buy more guns.
Yeah. Finance the thing.
So by the time Snoop is stepping out off the stoop, by the time Snoop is a worldwide star, yeah, crip culture, crack culture, drug culture, gun culture, it's all blended in with this black identity.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? They did us dirty.
Yeah, it's mad. And going back to the episode, yeah, with Vybz Kartel and Mavado, yeah, I feel like it's a story that really gets deep into what it is like to really be a product of your environment. Do you know that? And I think that for Vybz, yeah, his thing spiraled out of control so much, yeah. I think in his own mind he felt like he was in control of it, but he definitely became a nuisance because he did become very powerful. He had a lot of influence, but there's one thing that you said that I thought was quite interesting when you talked about, or it was the opinion of people. It was on free speech, and you said something about because Vybz Kartel, they banned him from doing shows, so he wasn't allowed to go anywhere. He wasn't even allowed to do shows in Jamaica. Yeah. It wasn't even just about being able to not come to England and all of that. They've all had these problems of being able to come to Europe and America or whatever it may be. But he wasn't even allowed to do shows in Jamaica, which was, I think he preempted a lot of that, which is why you started to see even more of the business side of him. 100%. I feel like the business side of him still was very techie. I remember going to Jamaica, yeah. I was in Jamaica when the year that they caught Dudus as well. I was 2010? There. Yeah, I was there.
Man.
I was
Before
there.
or after?
Before. I just got back and they must have caught him 2 weeks later. But I'll get into that, yeah.
Man.
But the thing was, yeah, with him is that even with the business side, going to Jamaica and seeing so much people bleaching off his thing was hard to see.
Yeah, I hear that.
And it was like, I'm seeing someone who is using their influence, in my opinion, in the complete wrong way. Yeah. But you know what? He can't do shows. He's just trying to figure out ways that he can try and, maintain a certain lifestyle. Yeah. However, you now become a nuisance. Yeah. You now become a nuisance. And what does he go and do? Either gives a reason for someone to lock him up for God knows how many years, or he's put in a situation now where, you know what, even if you wasn't a part of it, even if you didn't do it, you were standing next to my man, you have to go. Because we don't know what you're going to end up doing if you end up staying out here. Yeah.
I will never understand Vybz Kartel. Never. Like how someone can be that good at something, at so many things. Effortless. He ran the dancehall scene from jail.
Yeah, he still kind of does.
Yeah, for the past 15 years. He's run it from jail.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's mad.
It's ridiculous.
It's mad.
He was like the most listened to dancehall artist, and everyone else in the top 10 was at least 10 years younger than him.
Yeah.
Some of them were 20 years younger than him.
Yeah.
So he's a different breed, but for some reason, he liked the badness, blood. He liked the fuckery, really.
Yeah, I feel like he was addicted to that. And do you know what? I don't know. I've never met Mavado, yeah. But watching that situation between them two play out was like, honestly, in my mind, I was looking at one man in particular who didn't like. I had to do it because of my ego. That was Mavado, innit? Like, we have to.
Okay.
We're into that. So but I don't want to really, really do this.
No one does.
But I felt like Kartel was on I'm prepared to do this until you leave. Yeah. Until you leave. And whatever you leave means is whatever you leave in means.
Yeah.
Whatever that is. If it's the ultimate sacrifice, it's the ultimate sacrifice. I'm prepared to do that. But it was really good then to see them sitting together and saying, cool. Yeah. You know what? Like, a lot of people are dying in this thing or whatnot. It's such an interesting story. Like, you lot have to go and listen to that. Because you break it down in a very, very good way. And I think it's quite relatable to elements of the deeper issues anyway, into like what happens here as well. Do you know what I mean?
100%. I think you can take the template and apply it everywhere across the black, Western world. All of our neighborhoods are going through the same thing. There's been a long-term breakdown of conflict resolution. So what we find is that it's safer to handle justice by ourselves. We take matters into our own hands. That's how it starts off. You have to do that on the block. You have to do that in the community. But then you move out and develop, or you become part of an increasingly disrespectful culture. You know what I'm saying? It started with the clashing. The tongue is powerful. The tongue is powerful. All the clashing, all of the things that they were saying, only to go and shake hands and just say like, nah, you lot is cack. You know what I'm saying? I know people have died, but it's cack. It's just we're just trying to make money. But we've come from an environment where our idea of making money, our idea of what it is okay to say and what it's not okay to say, all of that stuff is a little bit warped. So now you get these youths saying mad disrespectful things on songs and wanting to follow through. They grow up wanting clout. They want the reputation of he will do what he says and he will do a mad thing. He says madness because he does madness. Do you get what I'm saying? All of our communities are going through this. And really and truly, we need a way out, dog. We need a way out. I'll be real. I'm at a point in my life where I didn't feel comfortable to say this for most of my career. But now I want to call on the rappers, to take ownership of the streets. You know what I'm saying? Take leadership, dog. I know it's not as simple as go and run your block, but a lot of the time when you talk to a rapper about why they say what they say, they'll say that they're not going to be as relevant if they don't say what the people then want to hear. And I just want to invite my brothers to think about it as you set the thing. You are the leader now. You tell these youths what is cool. Tell them it's not cool to be carrying no knife. Tell them it's not cool to disrespect people. Tell them it's not cool to give with one hand and take with the other. Do you get what I'm saying? You're a rapper now. You got an opportunity to do it differently. Do you get what I'm saying? For most of my career, I tried not to say this because I knew that the white media might take it to be like George the Poet is shitting on rappers and he's our guy that we can say this behind now.
Yeah.
But really and truly, I'm getting tired of seeing these rappers chat shit when it matters, when everyone's listening, and then when something bad happens, you're just saying the same things that everyone else is saying. No, I shouldn't have to come to this. Stop chatting shit in the music.
Yeah. I think that the talking when something bad happens is not always the most productive. So what I mean by that is if we're not hearing you ever say it outside of it,
literally,
and then something bad happens, then of course you're going to say it because something bad happened. But if you say it outside of something bad happening, sometimes it resonates more because it's like maybe that's a genuine feeling that you actually have, as opposed to saying it because you feel like you need to say it because something bad has happened in it.
Literally. And if you say it in the music, if you say the right thing in the music, bro, it goes a long way, I don't think that all of your fans are just gonna fall off and you're gonna get no ratings if you just start saying, I'm saying to the youth them how they need to pattern up and get clean money.
Yeah.
Like we should be telling we're all getting clean money now.
Yeah.
That should be a big talking point in our music, as much as trapping when you was trapping 6-7 years ago. Yeah. Big up Russ because he made a good point. I don't know why anyone wants to talk about what they did 6 years ago, but all right, cool. If that's your narrative, at least talk to them about the other side of it. Otherwise, we're wasting time. When the bad stuff happens, we start talking about when will things change, and the opportunity for change happens every time you step in the booth. If you pass up all them opportunities, there's no point talking about that one day when things go wrong or when the feds. You know how much man jumped on my team when I got into it with the feds. But I've never heard nothing from you before or after that.
Right.
Famous rappers that man look up to and respect. The only time you've ever really engaged with man or promoted what I do or said to the world, this is a good guy, is when I have a situation with the boy them.
Yeah.
But what about every other day of the year, my G?
You're right. That's because the reason why they've done that is because, all right, they look at that. They jump to that because they look at them as an op.
Yeah.
So it's like, cool, yeah. Fam, yeah, right, fucking, yeah, it's right. Yo, yeah, these men are ops, whatever,
Yeah.
boom, 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 boom. Then outside of that, it's quiet now again.
Literally. And I think it's the point is they don't see it as their job to be leading the streets. They see it as their job to leave the streets. And once they've done that, they're cool. But it has to, now we have to envision something that hasn't been there before. Envision the leadership that we never had when it came to the streets. The man them were there, but usually the people that were saying what I'm trying to say were broke. So we weren't really trying to hear that. It was man that came home from jail. It's man that would now turn Muslim or turn Christian and really wanted to give their lives to the community. And we didn't respect that because we saw it as soft, or they're not on nothing anymore because they're washed now. But we need to say this when we're up. They need to see us shining, looking good, getting money, getting views, saying clean money. Get clean money. Find a craft. Stick to it. Work hard. Support your brethren. Invest in your talent. A little bit of money. Trade-offs. Compromises. Discipline. They need to see us saying that now, not when we're past it.
Yeah, for real. Yeah. While you're young.
Facts.
Yeah, because you are, as again, I think you look at someone who's, if they're telling you this in their 50s and that, to a young you're old.
No, I ain't trying to hear that.
I ain't trying to hear that, man.
You would say that.
Yeah, exactly, of course. And you should be on that.
Yeah, I'm going to be on that when I'm old too.
When I get there, I should be on that if I get there. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I ain't trying to hear that, man. And when I reflect on the Mavado and the cartel thing, like I said, I see waste. I see a lot of wastage. Do you get what I'm saying? I see a lot of squandered potential, a lot of power wasted. I'm tired of it. I see it every single generation because we think that we can outsource change. We think that we can just take care of our family and a couple of our brethren and complain when it comes to elections. And me complaining and talking about what I don't like, that's me doing my bit. Fuck is wrong with you, bro? 24/7, you should be trying to generate more jobs for black people. 24/7, you should be pumping knowledge into the community. 24/7, you should have a presence in jail. Just your voice telling man, hold your head. You know what I'm saying? When you're out, there's opportunity. Stay focused. I was the only one for years. I don't even know if it's changed since. But out of all of the man them that came from where we come from, I'm the only one that had a radio show on jail from the scene. Do you know what I'm saying? But that's free. It didn't cost me nothing to set that up. You could go jail anytime. They're dying to hear from you. So it can't just be all Instagram activity or TikTok activity. Man, I have to really start stepping up and become creative about how we're going to change the situation for the youths.
Facts. That radio show thing, talk on that a little bit.
So I linked up with National Prison Radio and I took the podcast and I just play an episode a week and I'll sit down with a few man in Brixton, a few man that are doing their time there, and they're also on a radio program.
Right.
And we'll just discuss like how me and you are chopping it up now. That's exactly how it works.
Yeah.
I made the podcast to be educational material, really.
Right.
For prison education, really. Because I was thinking to myself, from 2015, I started doing prison workshops, and I got a poem about it where I'm talking about how one time I had to go to Brixton. The man them I asked the man them what they think of. No, the man them asked me what I think of rap. And I'm telling them, it's good, but there can be more. But how do I show them that? That became my question. And the way I show them is to make this podcast where I break it all down. I show you the genius of it, but I talk to you about the world behind it.
Right.
So that's what I do in prisons.
They need that.
We need that as a community, because we devalue what we're doing. We don't realize. In my opinion, this is going to replace education.
Yeah.
I don't know why we keep sending these youths to Prues that some Prues really get the job done. But for a lot of the people that don't know, it's a pupil referral unit here where you go just before jail, or where you go when mainstream school can't take you and you're just too outside of their pattern.
Is that what we used to call centre?
So for a certain generation, it's centre.
Yeah.
Or certain areas, it's centre as well. But yeah, like, if you know that there's a big link between school not going your way and people ending up in jail, then why are we not trying new ways of educating these youths?
Yeah.
If they can learn all of these skills to put the music together, and they can tie together all this language and all this maths, then why are we not meeting them in what they're actually interested in and making that the GCSE? Make that the degree. And only use it to teach them how to create a business, really. It shouldn't be about, I'm coming home and my parents asking me who's going to employ me. I'm going to employ me because I know my thing. I know why I write what I write. I know how it relates to society, and I know how to get money out of it. But yeah, I'm giving you too much. That's
now, do you know what?
15-year plan.
Is it, yeah? I hope I believe in you, bro. You know, like, I think sometimes another thing that we probably do a lot, or people do a lot, is like moan about, you know, like our communities, and then like how we've been moved out of our communities and stuff like that, yeah. And I always think about like areas like Southall, for example, yeah. And I say to myself, like, it doesn't feel like them areas could be gentrified like that because of the unity that they have over there, yeah. And maybe even the business acumen, in the sense that, like, you know what, if it means that a lot of us have to live in a small property together for a while, for us to save P, buy this place, do that, whatever it may be, at least we can keep it. We've got our own, yeah. Whereas, like, it seems as though what happens is, in ours, is that we don't have that same type of business acumen or unity, or that business unity where we're like, okay, cool, what is it that we can really do to keep our community in a certain way, as opposed to like just getting money and leaving. Do you get what I'm saying? 100%. If we keep doing that, then the areas that we once knew and loved will not exist anymore. Literally. Everyone will just end up going, and we don't have, like, Halsden will not be Halsden anymore. Brixton will not be Brixton anymore. Peckham will not be, and they already, you're starting to see them changing. I'm not always mad at the change, by the way, because sometimes, like, you know, I go to some of these areas. It's funny, like, I know this is mad, but I wasn't going Peckham when I was a youth. Really, I went there one time to go and check a gal, and it was techie, Now I go there for drinks. There's rooftop bars and that.
I know, it's mad.
But
like I said, it is nice to see nice things in the end.
It's nice to see. It's definitely nice to see nice things in the end. But it's nice to also feel like you can be a part of the nice thing in the end.
Exactly.
But like, I don't think that we do enough of trying to make those type of things happen. I think a lot of the time, people get caught up in their own minds, and then with that, like, all of these changes happen, and then the change then affects you, or the change then affects us. By then it's too late, and then we're sitting and we're moaning about you know what, like, flipping, you know, we're getting moved out here and we're getting moved out there. But it's like, okay, cool. What are we doing together to try and change that?
And we can do that. But I know I keep talking about your thing, but that's the significance of a podcast like this. This is people's space to reflect. We don't really have town halls like that. Barbershop, especially after COVID.
Town halls used to be a thing, innit? Town halls, like,
exactly.
The community used to sit in the town hall and
talk things through. But this is the town hall now. So you're in a perfect position, and that's why I have to say, while I'm on your thing, I gotta give a reminder to the rappers. They're all my cousins. That's how I see them. These are my, you know, we're all from the same source. We've just, we do different things, or we've grown in different directions. But I want to give a reminder that we are the town hall. Do you get me? If we all agree on what needs to happen moving forward, no one can't really chat to us. Who tells you what to say on this podcast?
Absolutely no one tells me a thing.
No one tells me nothing on my podcast. Do you get what I'm saying? And now, me and you are discussing my podcast on your podcast. It's going to get broadcast to a whole... Right. Come on.
Yeah. It's lit. Do you think that, like, essentially, like, artists that come from where we come from and that, when they start going through the roof, they understand that they have power, and they probably feel power, but they probably underestimate the power that they really do have, don't they?
Yeah.
And maybe, huh?
We're young when we get this power.
Well, this is it. And do you know what? Maybe as well, yeah, with that, yeah, you're right. That's why these type of conversations and stuff need to be had more so, because sometimes some are none the wiser, you know?
Yeah.
Some are just none the wiser.
That's why I try not to criticize rappers in the public too much, because I know that when I get a chance to speak to man, we're going to hold a reason. And after that initial reason, every time I talk, every time they see my face, they're going to hear what I'm saying a little bit, might disagree, but just hear what I'm saying. And as we grow, we now form the elders of the community. We're that network that the generation can come to us and ask for help from. But we need to consciously step up to that.
You said, I need to get this quote actually, yeah. 1 second. This was on freedom of speech, yeah? And it was going back to the episode with Vybz and Mavado. Yeah. When Vybz was not able to do any shows anymore, yeah? One of the things that they were trying to push, and people were trying to push, and people do all the time, we talk about it all the time, yeah, in some way, shape or form, is freedom of speech. And to which some people, well, this is like a paraphrase or whatever, yeah. It wasn't, I don't think one particular person had said this, but you had just said this, yeah. Where he was like, now you're supposed to know the limits. Freedom of speech doesn't mean that you can breach people's safety and homophobic lyrics, yeah. Talk to me on like how you see freedom of speech, because essentially, I don't think that there is freedom of speech, and I don't always think that that is a bad thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reason being is because I think that actually you can be allowed to say whatever it is that you want to say, but you have to understand that certain things that you are going to say, you're going to be held accountable for. Yeah. Actually, this is going to make me go on a tangent now. You can maybe talk on in a bit as well. I was watching this whole situation play out with the baby, yeah? And we talked about it a little bit on the pod, but I wasn't deep in it properly until I left, yeah?
Yeah.
And the baby was on stage and he was saying a whole load of madness on the stage. Yo, you put your 2 hands in the sky if you're not outside sucking dick. Yo, you know you ain't got HIV and died in 3 weeks. And all. He went mad, yeah? Now, so he said all of this mad stuff and whatnot.
He went nuts.
Now, obviously people will look at freedom of speech. He should be allowed to go on the stage and he should be allowed to say X, Y, and Z. To which I say, that's fine. But you have to understand that you are going to be held accountable for those words if you say these things. So obviously he's come out and he said, oh, you know, people don't understand, it's a live show and you do this and you say that and boom, boom, boom. So that was like the first defense mechanism, to which like there were other rappers that had came out and defended him, like T.I., who I love T.I., by the way, yeah. I love T.I.'s mind usually, but T.I.'s come out and he's doing his thing of, you know, he's like, this is the next thing that people seem to do a lot, yeah. When someone's done something wrong, instead of saying, you know what, that was wrong.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have done that. It was a bit mad.
Yeah.
Man will say, yo, but what happened when he did, and what happened when, so how comes no one ain't done when?
I know all cultures do that, but man, them are the king of that.
Oh my God.
The man, them are the king of that.
Oh, bro.
It makes me sick.
So then there's all of that, yeah? And I'm like, again, sometimes man have to just be able to learn and say, you know what, okay, how is it that I upset people? Like, why is it that people are upset? Hold on, let me just hold my hands up and just, you know what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying.
I hear it. Now, even in this situation here, yeah, people will look at and say, and it's like, sometimes this comes from our community too, but I'm sure this is like outside of our community too, where someone gets held accountable for the words that they say, and then we say, gays run well. See, you know what? He's gone on stage, he said one little thing, now we can't do nothing. Gays run well. We got no chance. Time out. And I'm like, hold on, wait. Oh, yo, but the festivals, they profit off our culture, and the festivals do this, and it's all right when, you know, this person says nigga, bitch, this, that, and the other, and we can't. Wait. Hold on. What's going on here?
Hold on.
So then I'm like, but we're not thinking about this properly here. Yeah. Firstly, yeah, some people might have you might have a valid opinion on, you know, festivals profiting off whatever X, Y, and Z and whatnot. Yeah. But ultimately, what's happened is here, it's not the festivals cancelling my man. It's not necessarily just because of what he said. It's because of the outrage that has been directed at him for what it is that he has said. Yeah. Now, if us as a community, want to sit and say, well, how comes no one? Trust me, if there's enough outrage on these things that you feel are when man are saying this in the lyrics or whatever, they will ultimately respond to that too. They will respond to that. But ultimately, if we don't do these things, if we don't speak up and we don't say whatever we feel the outrage is or whatever, then of course these things are going to happen. But ultimately, there's in some way, I'm not saying that how they handled all of that, like whether he should have been cancelled off everything or whatever, that's a whole other conversation. But essentially what I'm getting at here is that we have to look at this freedom of speech thing here and say, if you are going to use it to that degree, you could be held accountable from a group of people that are going to be outraged about something. And I'll tell you this now. If a white man went up on a stage and said, put 2 hands in the sky if you ain't kissing no nigger, put 2 hands in the sky if you're going to bust your... Trust me when I tell you, we would be outraged. Right. And you would not see him on a festival that is tailored towards... You just wouldn't see it.
Speech, then. So this is the first thing on that point. I don't see it as a freedom of speech issue. I think many of us agree that what he said was out of order. He didn't really mean it like that anyway. So it's not really about man's beliefs. And the narrative that a man didn't know better is actually insulting to black people, because what do you mean he didn't know better? He's a 30-year-old millionaire, genius of a wordsmith. We wouldn't appreciate that narrative being spun back on us in a different context. Like, oh, nah, but he doesn't know better. He doesn't know, you know what they're like. You know where they're from. It's not about know better. It's about, do you know about talking about things you understand versus staying out of things you don't understand? That's a simple concept. If you're going to turn around and say, man, don't really understand the context of HIV, AIDS, then why were you speaking on it, innit? So that's a separate thing. But to the broader point of freedom of speech, I think we got to acknowledge that it's not, nothing is absolute. This is a human-made construct. It's not like God made Adam and Eve and freedom of speech.
No.
Do you know what I'm saying? Freedom of speech is something that we have agreed between ourselves. And in some parts of the world, that agreement is taken very seriously. In other parts of the world, it's not. I think we're in a part of the world where freedom of speech means something. Yeah? We're also in a part of the world where we're quite spoiled. So we're used to getting away with anything when it comes to our relationship with the media. Like, we've grown up with social media. We feel like we can say whatever we want. We're not used to getting arrested for our thoughts. Anytime it looks like someone is getting attacked for their beliefs, there's bare people that will stand up for them in this society. But I want to flip it a little bit, and I want to go over to Africa, because many young people like us in Africa who are into the same things that we're into, they're debating about the baby right now. Yeah, they're talking about Mavado and Vybz right now. Many of them will not only get arrested, but they'll get shot in the face for talking about their government.
Yeah, for real.
There's levels to freedom of speech. Now, because they will get shot in the face for talking about their government, they're very intentional about what they say.
Right.
So if they are saying fuck the government, they're saying fuck the government, and they understand what's on the line.
Yes. Yeah.
They mean it. Going back to the baby thing. Did you mean what you said? Do you care about anyone who has HIV? Were you in the middle of doing an HIV awareness course when this show kicked off? Or was that not even on your radar? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So because the people back home in Africa, I feel, have that heightened awareness of what their words can do, they got to be more selective with them. Over here, without that, what does that make us? We're free. We free up the world. That's why these certain artists are saying whatever in their music.
Well, we abuse it then.
Exactly.
We just abuse it.
It's a double-edged sword. The pendulum swings both ways, dog. And for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So if you're going to dance on your op's grave and the feds are going to try and get you out the country, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Yeah.
Don't drag me and my community into a big conversation about whether the feds want you to prosper. Because is that the issue, or is it the issue that you don't care about a mother's pain? And now God is serving you the consequences of that disregard in ways that you didn't expect. Now you can't move how you wanted to move. And you want the whole world to say, nah, it's his environment, allow it. But just even if that's true, even if it is your environment, it's you one that has to live the consequences of your decisions. We as a community can't bail you out of that. That's a fact of life. So freedom of speech goes both ways, in my opinion.
Yeah. My brain just went to the point of thinking, do you love, even in that situation with the police and that, it's like, do you hate the police more than you love your brothers, your mum, in a sense?
Yeah.
Like, what's the percentages of that?
Yeah.
Because if the percentages are off, then there's definitely an issue within how you're seeing this and even how you're looking at them.
And you know what, bro? Now that I'm getting married and I'm sharing my life with a woman and I'm learning a woman's perspective, I grew up in a house full of boys. I went to a boys' school. I was in studio and barbershop, enough for my teens. I didn't have that much access to the female psyche. I realized that where you're dealing with young boys in a lot of this war, the road thing and the rap thing, there's an emotional immaturity that just can't. It's very hard to accelerate past that until you reach your mid-20s. So enough of these man, if you ask them if they hate the feds more than they love their mum, they can't answer that. The emotional growth hasn't happened yet. You're asking a 17-year-old, even if you're asking a 21-year-old. Now that I'm getting married at 30, I can see like there's emotions I weren't capable of when I was 21, 17. Do you get what I'm saying? And it's sad because that's why these youths need fathers. They need to see a man move through this society without dropping the ball. But enough man don't grow up seeing that. So they assume that they're going to go jail anyway. So when you're asking me if I love the feds or my mum or I hate the people, them, what are you even saying to me, blood? That's not what I've been thinking about for the past 13 years. And it's only been 13 years for some of these youths.
Yeah, for real. How has it been moving into your 30s for you? Have you had a lot of epiphanies?
Man, I feel like I've been 30 for... In my head, I've been 30 for years.
In my head, you have been as well, I can't lie.
There's things that
man went Cambridge at 30.
There's things that I've been wanting to say and just let people understand about me, that it was harder to express this when I was 24.
Yeah.
Most of what I'm saying to you today, most of what I'm like, it was there forever. But I needed to grow through certain stuff. I needed to grow out of certain stuff. I needed to grow towards certain things for me to be able to say, you know, like, I can make myself understood today. So 30 feels calm, man. It feels appropriate. I wouldn't want to... I ain't trying to go back to my 20s. Like,
yeah.
It was fine for what it was when it was. But now that I have all the information and all the achievements and stuff patterned, like, I'm ready to move on to what's next, which is another problem for the youth. And when I was young, we didn't know any people in their 30s that we looked up to or we were trying to be like.
No.
Now for these 17-year-olds have no concept of who they're going to be when they're 30.
Nah, for real. I mean, yeah, for real. I mean, now though, there's it feels like there's better examples though.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like, I'm looking at so many artists now. Like, we got legends now. like or like early. They're like early into their legendary status.
Skepta.
Perfect example.
100%.
I'm seeing this guy go to Hugo Boss in a tracksuit, buy a suit to go and pick up the tailor-made Rolls Royce with a cigar with his brethrens and then go and eat and that. When I was a young buck, the only people that were doing stuff like that were millions of miles away from me.
Yeah, I didn't know.
They was
them.
over. They
was
far. They were far. didn't even know what a Rolls Royce was like that.
I remember Skepta had a bar. My brethren's got the connect to the Mac. The connect's talking 1,003, just about 2 bills short of a G. Couple more big PAs and hopefully that's me. Wait, hold on, let me see. I could do something smart with the P. Might buy 7-8 balls with the P. Flip that and buy a brand new TT. That was his thought. That was money. Yeah. That was budgeting to him back then.
Yeah.
And now man's going past the TT.
It's crazy.
You see what I'm saying? So the story's there, and definitely we're blessed. That's why I say we're in a good position, man. Black Britain, especially if you're in a city where you can get things cracking and there's a bit of a scene. We're in a good position because we connect a lot of cultures. Look what we've just talked about. We've talked about America, Jamaica, Skepta's Nigerian, I'm Ugandan. You know, we connect all of these cultures. We have access to big industries. We have legends walking around copying Rolls Royces, 23-year-olds designing Aston Martins and going number 1 in the albums. We're in a good position.
Yeah, for real. And I'll also mention as well, that like, even just going back just a tiny bit, companies and businesses as well, do respond to outrage. So once we select those things properly as well, then you know what, there's a lot of changes that can be made even within that. And sometimes when one of the man them does something wrong, sometimes we should just be able to just say, you know what, sorry man.
Facts.
Sorry man, learn, sorry. Instead of, if we keep trying to find the contradiction in everything, then we can't, it's very difficult to move forward doing that. Sometimes we just have to do that. But also we remember that once we've done that and it's our turn, we have to receive that as well. Do you get what I'm saying?
100%.
Yeah, boom.
I think that's an example that we need to set to the youth. Going back to what you were saying earlier about learning to take an L. It's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. Learn. If you need to, learn. Or take the L and take a step back and, you know what I mean?
Facts.
All right, boom. My thing, because I was going to ask you, I always do this. What is one thing that people need to know about? Mine is going to be your pod. I think that people actually have this episode in particular. Go and listen to that episode. Like, it's so good. What is it? Is it called Mavado versus Vybz Cartel? Is that what it's called?
It's called Mavado and Vybz.
Mavado and Vybz, right?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. And how can they?
You can get that on, right now you can listen to it on BBC Sounds.
Yeah.
But you can get the rest of the podcast on all podcast platforms.
Okay, so wherever you get your podcast, go listen. Trust me, go and listen to that. I promise you, it's proper good. Callum, you should listen to it as well. It's really, really good. You'll learn a lot from it. The way that you paint the pictures and stuff like that in there is so good. So yeah, what is one thing that people need to know about? It could be anything. It could be a brand. It could be an Instagram page. It could be a tune. It could be sunglasses. It could be anything.
Funny you say that, man. People need to know about the world's first and only sunglass manufacturer that is purely for African features. See, what happens is the whole sunglass industry is based on Caucasian features, isn't it?
Yeah.
There's a little sector of Asian, but there's nothing for the African people's features in it. So KIMEZE.com. We pronounce it Chimeze, but it looks like Kimeze. That is where you can get your premium African eyewear, sunglasses, glasses, frames, whatever you need. Started up in Northwest London.
Oh, sick.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So yeah, that's definitely something that people need to know about.